Hey folks, welcome to the 30 Days to Learn Adobe After Effects course. My name is Vincent Nguyen, and today in this quick lesson we're going to be talking about effects, how to apply and control them, and how effects are rendered. Now effects are very important in After Effects, hence the name After Effects, so it's a very good idea to have a brief understanding on how effects work within the application. So here I have a simple composition set up here, and I just have a background solid layer and a text layer. Now, to apply an effect, there are many ways to do it. There's actually three easy ones. And the first way is to go and select your layer and go to the effects up here. And you can apply a myriad of effects this way by simply just selecting an effect you want to use. A second way is to actually right click on the layer here and then go to effects. And then you can select effects this way. Now, probably the easiest way and the way that I recommend is to actually use the Effects and Presets panel right here. This is very, very convenient. And the number one reason why it's so convenient is because that you have the search bar right here. So, if, for example, if you know the effect that you want to apply, rather than searching through all the different categories, you can simply type in the word glow, for example, and then apply the glow effect very easily and very efficiently. Of course, you have the option to browse the categories again, similar to the Effects tab up there. So pretty cool here. So without me talking, let's go ahead and apply an effect. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the CC light burst effect. And you can apply an effect by clicking on this little effect button right here and simply either dragging it directly onto the layer in the composition panel, or you can simply drag the effect onto the layer itself. And I recommend applying the effect directly to the layer itself because when you have tons and tons of layers here, it's very easy to accidentally drop the effect into the wrong layer. So I recommend just dragging the effect onto the layer directly. And then you'll notice the effects controls right here popped up, and hence the name of the panel. This is where we control all the effects. So if you don't see the effects and presets panel right here, make sure that the window effects and presets panel is checked. So now that we have that done, now that we applied an effect, you can see that the effect takes place here in the composition panel. You can see that the effect is applied to the effects text layer. Now, very similar to the eyeball switch for the layer, which hides the layer, you can also hide an effect or temporarily disable the effect by clicking on this FX button right here. And when you do that, it's going to temporarily hide the effect. So we can turn it back on here, and it's going to reapply the effect. And here you have a lot of parameters to play around with. On the left side here, you have the stopwatch, which we'll be talking about a little bit later in lesson 8, where we're going to be talking about keyframes and animation. And then next to that, we have the title or the parameter name, for example, the intensity of the effect or the intensity of the CC light burst. And on the right side, we have additional parameters here, which we can actually edit and change. So for example, maybe the ray length is not long enough for you, and it's currently set to 50. We can actually increase the value here by either clicking on it and changing the number manually, maybe to 100. Or you can simply hover your cursor over the parameter here, and then you can simply just drag, and it's going to change and apply the effect as such. So that's pretty much how you apply an effect, and that's how you control the effect and edit the parameters of the effect. Now, another good practice to understand is the rendering order of effects. And similar to layers, whatever is on top gets rendered first, and whatever's on the bottom gets rendered last. So for an example here, I had the CC light burst effect. I'm going to apply one more effect to the text layer. I'm going to apply a CC lens. And again, we can either drag the CC lens effect onto the actual layer itself in the composition panel right here, or we can simply drag the effect onto the actual layer itself, or we can drag it into the effects controls for the layer. And when we do that, you can see that the CC lens effect pretty much creates a nice elliptical lens onto our effects layer. So notice what happens when I switch the order of the effects. You can see that both looks look completely different even though we have the same effects in the effects controls panel on our layer. Now let me explain why this works. Very similar to layers. So currently right now we have the CC light burst effect, and that is creating these nice light rays on our text. And then once we apply the CC lens effect, it's going to warp all that light warp. It's going to warp all that text and light into a sphere. So if we change the order, I'm going to drag the CC lens effect on top here and turn it on. And that's going to create the warping sphere effect. And then once we apply our CC light burst after that, it's going to apply the nice light rays to that object. So order does matter, very similar to layers. So whatever is on top is going to get rendered first, and then anything after that's going to render after that. So it's a very simultaneous, very easy concept to grasp, but I just want you to know the order in which effects are rendered, very similar to layers. So this has just been a really quick tutorial on how to apply effects, how to control them, and how they are rendered within After Effects. In the next lesson, we're going to be talking about presets and how they differ from effects. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial, guys. If you guys have any further questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the forums down below. And I'll see you guys in the next lesson. Bye, guys.